Welcome back to the Red Path. Today we're doing a chill game learn and I'm going to talk about my thoughts on coaching. Welcome back. So today I'm doing a chill game learn on the subject of coaching, like being coached to play 40k. Now I want to start off with a caveat. This is purely my opinion. Dara may have different opinion. Honestly, we haven't actually talked about it really much. But yeah, this is just mine. So if you completely disagree, just take it up with me, or let me know in the comments. So let's dive right in. Coaching, basically in 40k, is generally a paid service that you pay someone else and they will help you learn the game. In essence, my opinion is this: if that's something you want and you can afford to do it, and if it's something you don't want, don't do it. Stay healthy, stay safe, and kill main bow. Okay, so obviously my opinion and my thoughts are going to be a bit more extensive than that, but I thought it'd be funny. So this is a subject that I have kind of strong feelings about. I don't necessarily have a hard yes or hard no. I'm kind of using this as a way to talk my own thoughts about it. I will say my kind of meme intro was more or less my thoughts. It is up to the individual's choice. It's your money. You do with it what you want. There are other things I think you should consider. And I've got actually a little bit of experience in this. I won't say expertise, but qualifications, certainly. And I guess experience for sure. Outside of 40k. I'm not a 40k coach by any stretch of the imagination. But it is something I've done professional training in, schooling in, that sort of thing. And I'll touch on that shortly. But yeah, as I said, basically coaching is a paid service generally, where you as an individual pay another individual or team and use that to have them help you improve your game, your tabletop performance. Generally for competitive play, but I mean, some people may want it for just, learning the basics of the game. There's an option there, sure. But we're looking at it through a competitive lens. The pros, the cons, how it relates to the real world, or how other coaching methods and practices relate to it, I guess, is what I mean. So it's generally you engaging with your coach or team of coaches. There are some formats where it's like online lessons. Maybe you watch battle reports and sort of chat and ask questions. Maybe there's like pre-recorded videos teaching you tips and tactics and things like that, lesson plans, stuff like that. It's a professional service. I'm not here to piss on any of them. I haven't paid for one, but I've talked to several people who are in the process of paying for coaching or have previously, and also people who are just not interested in it. I just wanted to get a kind of wide variety of opinions and hear what you get for your money in a way. So this is my thoughts on it. I just want to absolutely clarify that. And as anything that is said on this channel, and generally anything in life as well, but I only control what I produce. The opinions here are commentary. Look into them yourselves, do your own research, dig into it yourself. And I'm going to touch on that as well. So coaching will teach you practical tips. It will teach you ways to think about the game, think about list writing, think about tactics, how to think 2, 3, 4 turns ahead, how to better utilize an army for your particular play style. Your particular play style is going to be generated in theory from your personality, from your particular way you approach life. It should do that, which is something I'm going to touch on. So let's look at these. Let's sort of drill down into these benefits, right? What you get for your money, right? Obviously, you should see an improvement in your skills. Whether this is going from a 1 and 2 at RTTs to going 3 and 2 or 4 and 1 or 5 and 0 at a GT, you know, like an actual measurable metric improvement. That's something that comes mostly through experience and knowledge of your army, knowledge of meta armies, likely things. There's some like tournament tips, and I mean that in a way that there's things in a specific tournament that you can learn to metagame, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's a valid tactic. You know, maybe not scoring as high as you possibly could to avoid a particular matchup in the next round. That's something. Developing your list because you know the terrain of the upcoming tournament. That's definitely something you should be aware of. There's lots of little things which influence, and a good coaching service would obviously teach you things like this. Further, they would really should drill down the intricacies and the math or the science and the art behind writing a list. Writing a list is a skill unto itself. It's way more than just finding the most efficient meta units. You will never win a super major or be, you know, number one in your faction or anything like that for the most part by using someone else's list, because the person who wrote that list is going to be that number one. So developing your list writing skills and being coached and taught how to do that has to be integral. You have to learn how to look for those hidden efficiencies and how it works with your play style. And then also further to that is developing your play style. Some people like myself, I'm a very reactive player. I can't think very well 2, 3, 4 turns ahead. I'm not super able to know all the intricacies of various armies. I'll know the big stuff to look out for, right? But some players will know every codex, or the majority of codexes, certainly the meta codexes. I can't do that. I want tools in my army that can deal with most common threats. I'm never going to win a super. That's not even something I realistically aim for. I would like to one day win a GT, or, you know, certainly place top 3 at a large GT. That's kind of my realistic goal. I don't foresee anything more than that because I don't have the length of experience and realistically the time to dedicate myself to doing that. But I think I can dedicate myself to achieving what I want to achieve. Beyond that, being involved in a community of experts, which coaches are. Every coaching service I can think of, or service similar to coaching, I'm not gonna drop names. You know them all, or you know many of them. All the big ones certainly contain top tier players. No doubts about that. I'm not challenging these services. You know, quality of player providing the instruction. Top players, no doubt. Being involved with those people can give you incredible insight to the meta that is, the meta they predict and probably are going to be right about, and to a degree where they have access to, you know, they know the roadmap for codexes and stuff, and perhaps a little bit of information of what those codexes will contain. A heads up on where to build your list towards. That's entirely possible. I'm not saying it happens, but it's, you know, if you're coaching with someone who has early release information and they're suddenly pivoting their list to deal with, you know, T7 4-up invuln stuff, maybe you want to think about that. I don't know. So generally what you should see improvement with a coaching service is your practical success on the table, measured through results, whether, you know, in your local meta or in like your state meta or region meta, depending on where you are. You should see an ability to get the most out of your codex or codexes, right? Being able to see why a certain unit is efficient. Unit efficiency is something I like to look at a lot because that's another way my brain tends to work well. For instance, I posted a video about the quad heavy bolter rapier. Now, it's not a meta breaking thing, but within the confines of World Eaters, I think it's an excellent choice, because heavy support is generally not something we are too concerned about, because we lack access to like endless cacophony and stuff like that, and obliterators just aren't worth it for us and things like that. Venom crawlers are good, no doubt, but lacking a legion trait for our demon engines and stuff, and no psychic powers, we focus more on elites, in my opinion. Elites are where our strengths are, so we often have heavy support slots. And I really value the rapier battery for its efficiency, its cheapness, and its utility. It's not going to count for every legion though. So being able to find those kinds of things just ups your game, and you should be taught to look for those things and how to figure that out mathematically. And again, the meta awareness, the awareness of where the meta is, what you need to be teching for. If you live in a particular meta where there's no Death Guard players, you don't really need to worry about Mortarion unless you're going to like a big international or like a super major like the LVO or something. But if everyone around you is just playing Space Marines, that's what you need to be worried about, and that's what you build your list for competitively. So those are the things, the positives, the benefits, the improvements you should walk away with once you have completed a program or been coached for a year. You should see improvement in those, and other things as well. But those for me are like the kind of core three things you would expect to see improvement in, depending on where your weaknesses originally are. So with that, let's look at what, in my opinion, the negative connotations are of paid coaching services in 40k. So this is where my personal experience comes in. Out of school and out of university, I went into assistant teaching, essentially. I worked with children with learning difficulties, and I found it very fulfilling. And I wanted to work more in that. This is back when I was in the UK before I met my wife. About 20 years ago now. And so when I decided that was a career I wanted to stay involved in, I started working at a college, like a vocational college. They have different names everywhere, but you know what I mean. And I worked with young people between 16 and about 25 who are at risk for various reasons. And part of my job training was to go and get qualified in coaching, mentoring. I won't say psychology because it isn't, but it courses that involved how to talk to people, how to relate to people, things like that. Although I've have some minor qualification in psychology anyway, and that kind of works in with where I'm going here. And I did that for several years until I moved to the US in my mid-20s. And I was working with a lot of people, young people, and helping them deal with issues. I lived in a very poor part of East London. That's where I grew up, and the issues that people dealt with required a lot of support. And I was like a frontline, kind of like, in some respects, helping them find more professional support, in some respects, offering the support, in some respects, working with them academically, just a whole host of things. But essentially, it was coaching and mentoring, and that was what I did a lot of training in, to that end. Then later on in life, sort of my early 30s, late 20s, early 30s, after I've moved to the US and completely different career path, which, very, very different. I got involved in strength lifting, which similar to powerlifting, weightlifting, that sort of stuff, and got reasonably good at it. But as I was already older, my attempts at going to meets, couldn't compete with 18-year-old kids squatting way more than I could. So that was just no. I'll do it for my fitness, and I need to get back to it still. But did work briefly, about a year, in coaching some kids, basically teenagers, like football players, stuff like that, in lifting, because whether it is because I'd worked with young people a lot, and I'd always kind of wanted to be a teacher when I was a kid, until I went on a different path, and kind of flunked a lot of stuff for being a dumbass teenager. But I like helping people, right? Coached strength lifting, informally. I wasn't paid for it, just sort of like friends of friends. Hey, you know this stuff, can you help so and so out? Sure, yeah. And worked fairly rigorously in helping people learn a particular technique, or a set of particular techniques for particular lifts, and get good at them, and do surprise. A couple of them did really well in like meets and stuff. So I do have a small amount of experience in coaching, both sporting wise and like academically, we'll may as well call it. So I feel I have a little bit of experience, and this is where my biggest problem comes. Something, and this is going back to the fitness industry, something that absolutely horrifies me in it, and I have seen in 40k, is the obeisance to expertise or perceived expertise. Someone is good at something, therefore they know they can teach me how to be that good. No, this is not the fucking case. It's not the case at all. Think back to when you were in school, secondary school, high school, whatever you call it, where you're from, right? For myself, just talking about this with a friend online recently, I can clearly remember two of my English teachers. English was my favourite subject in secondary school, high school. I had one teacher in my second year, when I was like 13, who was a doctor of English or doctor of languages, that sort of thing. Absolute, like, knew everything. Every technique, had the techniques of writing poetry, could quote any Shakespeare to you. That sort of person, right? Absolutely atrocious teacher. Terrible. Didn't learn a fucking thing. My year after, had a teacher who was fairly new to teaching. I think it was actually her first year, maybe a second year of being a proper teacher, right, after doing like placements and stuff like that. And was qualified and everything, but wasn't vastly experienced, but a wonderful teacher. Knew how to communicate with people, with young people, and impart thinking strategies and dealing with stuff, right? How to interpret things, the kind of methods and techniques you actually need to learn, and you have to be taught. Anyone can read a book, but not anyone knows how to get the information from that book, how to read between the lines and stuff, right? And that's the difference between a teacher and an expert. And the two sometimes are the same, but not always. And one of the easiest things you can tell, example, going to strength training, right? If you go to the gym and, oh, hey, I you look like you need a coach. You want me to coach you? I'll get you having a 600-pound squat in 3 months. Oh, okay. So what should I do? Do 5-3-1. Start right now. No, that person, you walk away from them right now. They're dangerous. They're going to get you physically fucking hurt. Guarantee it. That person doesn't know a thing. When you are engaging in coaching, in paying someone or working with someone to help you get better at something, you absolutely need, the first thing they should do to you, if they're serious and they know what the hell they're doing, is, okay, so let's have a sit down, let's have a conversation, let's find out some information about you. What's your play style, right? What armies do you like and why do you like them? Okay, so you really like Blood Angels and World Eaters and Fighty Tyranids. Okay, so you really like the fight phase. Yeah, you go on like that. And they need to pull that information from you. And once they've got everything they need in their particular program, then they develop a unique and tailored program for you. They don't give you a cookie cutter program, a one size fits all, because that doesn't exist. You get any 10 40k players in a room, and let's say they all know how to play Space Marines, whether they play them at the moment or not. You put a Space Marine army in front of all of them, and you play each one of them one after the other, and they're all at rough similar skill levels, years of experience, and tournament progress and stuff like that. You will have vastly different games every time because they will each have different play styles. They will favor different phases of the game. They will react to your actions differently. Everyone is unique and individual. So you have to approach your customer, your client, however you want to put it, as unique and individual. There isn't a way you can simply apply, here's how you're going to be the number one 40k player. Here's how you're going to get better. Here's how you'll win one more game. That is not how it works in any part of life. So that's the first, quite a long negative there. And I kind of touched on 2 or 3 of my bullet points here. But I really want to emphasize that someone being good at the game is not the same as them being a good teacher. Someone could be terrible at the game and a good teacher. Someone could be a great at the game and a good teacher. The two are separate facets. When you are trying to be coached, they must be a good teacher. Their game qualifications and records and metrics are far less relevant. It's a sales pitch. It's something to draw you in because you can aspire to be the number one in your faction or in your region or at the local GT or whatever it is you're aiming for. That person has achieved more and better. Therefore, if they teach you, you'll become the same, right? It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that at all. And you need to be aware of that and wary of it. And the last kind of negative I want to touch on before I kind of move on a little bit. There's an ethical side to this, right? We have seen it recently, in the last, well, certainly in the last 4 or 5 months. I can't remember the exact dates. I'm not going to name names because you probably know who I'm talking about, but a particular coach or someone who has a coaching service that they make or were and currently still are making money from by teaching people 40k, was caught 100% cheating at an event, right? Now that creates a dilemma because that person has their business, has their livelihood, as far as I know, their entire income or a majority of it based on being good at 40k. So if you are depending your family or yourself, your income on teaching people on your 40k presence, right? Whether you're a YouTuber, a coach, a business owner, whatever, you have to stay at the top of your game. It's why you'll see content creators, myself included, every now and again putting out clickbait stuff, right? It's the game. This channel isn't here to make money. It's never has been and never will be, although patronage is appreciated. But nevertheless, I always will want more subscribers. Not to feed my ego or something, but because I do this because I feel we as a community, I feel I've got a message and Dara has a message, 40k related, politics and stuff aside. I wanna preach the good news of the World Eaters to you, right? And I want more people to hear it. But aside from that, the ethical side, if you have an income that is dependent on 40k, you have to stay the top of the game. And then you run the risk of, as happened with this person who cheated, of really trying too hard, of trying to win at all costs. And it didn't pay off, or it shouldn't pay off. Once you're caught cheating, that should impact you. And it obviously did in some respects. But I don't know what that person's situation is now. Have they had to pivot their work and their income? I don't want to see anyone lose a job or anything. But it does create situations and opportunities for less than savoury actions by people, because suddenly my income is dependent on me being good at 40k. Therefore, I have to be good at 40k. I cannot afford to come outside of the top 8 or whatever the particular bar is at the moment. You want to be winning events. You want to be placing top 3. You want to, whatever it is, you want to be winning the Golden Demons if you're doing it for hobby work or something, or like the Crystal Brush and all these other things, right? You want credibility to your name, and it does unfortunately open the opportunity and the temptation for shitty behavior, quite frankly. This is not an accusation against anyone other than the one person who I haven't mentioned their name, but everybody knows. Okay, so moving on from the pros and the cons, right? There are alternatives. You don't have to spend money to be good at this game, not by a long shot. In fact, most of the people, a majority of the top players in the game have come from a generation without professional coaching services. They're, the top of the game now, but the last 10, 15, 20 years they've been playing, maybe there were a few things, there were alternatives or whatever, but the pro coaching service is relatively new to 40k, relatively, right? So what can you do? Well, you can form a group, right? Whether a real life group of friends or an online group. For instance, if you're a World Eaters player, which you probably are if you're watching this, or at least World Eaters adjacent, our Discord. We've got, tactical stuff going, or tactical tips channel. We've got a competitive channel. We play TTS against each other and stuff. Whilst we're quite insular in, obviously generally we have a lot of chaos versus chaos stuff, right? But we do have, we've got people that go to super majors. We've got people who play, 3-4 games a week. People that are playing Drakari all the time, or AdMech. We have a lot of people dealing with a lot of different things, and we can impart knowledge to each other. Like, we're not a professional, team. We're not like all playtesting one list to find the World Eaters list, right? It's not reasonable, not for us. But when someone says, hey dude, look, I just played against AdMech and it never struck me before, but if we do this particular combo and and use this particular terrain trait and blah blah blah, it really gives us a leg up. And then suddenly all of us are like, oh, okay, all right, okay. So what you're saying is we spam mutilators, right? Or something stupid. But we have our own inner meta, and we are learning from each other and making World Eaters in general stronger. As a consequence of that, it's just happening. Like, we are impacting not the meta in as the way we use it, but the actual meta, the grand state of things. We are having an impact because World Eaters are doing better than they should be, and I not wholly because of, but certainly in part because of, a lot of us are using like the RTC Battles app, which is where a lot of the metrics are drawn from by like 40k stats and stuff. And we're reporting our games, and we're doing well because we're supporting each other. So if you're a World Eaters player but not in the Discord, jump in, and help us out, and we'll help you out. And that doesn't cost you a fucking thing, not a damn thing, other than your time and following the group rules. But if you play a different faction, find something like that. There'll be people out there in the same boat as you who want to get better, but can't afford it, and you'll learn something, and you may teach them something. This goes on to make sure you communicate with people who want the same as you, right? I want to be good competitively. Now I've always got the time of day to talk about some fluffy stuff, right? I love my lore and my eventually I'll play Crusade, stuff like that. Eventually, I love narrative gaming and all that stuff. But if I'm talking 40k, certainly right now I'm talking competitive. I want the hardest, most cutting edge stuff I can talk about. I want a theory hammer. I want to, like, talk out games virtually and stuff like that. That's what I'm after. Find people that are whatever you want are doing the same thing, and communicate with them. And this can be online, this can be in Discord, in a Facebook group, on a WhatsApp chat circle, or in real life at your local gaming store. There's ways and means, right? Ultimately, though, the best alternative to being coached is to play the fucking game, is to play the damn game. Just keep playing the game. Play. Play different people, play different armies, different skill levels. You have to play. That's the long and short of it. You're never going to get better at this game. I'm never going to get better at this game until I've played more games. I need 100 more games to even consider myself adequate for something like the LVO. I don't think I'll get 100 games before then. I'm going to be lucky to get another 50 games, I'll be honest, just because of real life. but you know, I have to be realistic, and I'm going for the memes. That's what I'm there for. I'm there for the lols, and I'm gonna have a good ass time. I'm gonna get fucking shit faced drunk. That's a weekend for me. But let's kind of wrap it up. Let's conclude here. If you are wanting to consider being coached, right? You want a professional, someone who knows what they're doing and is a good teacher, good coach, good mentor to communicate with you and help you learn the game better, right? Before you give them a penny, before you sign up, you know, PayPal them the first check or whatever it is, ask them, you know, hey, can you put me in touch with a couple of people that, you know, you've previously coached or are currently coaching? I just want to get a feel. You know, if they have a problem with that, I think that's a good red flag, and you walk away. They should be saying, hey, look, you know, come join my Discord, talk to some of the people I'm already working with, and, you know, chat with them privately. If I was doing that, I don't want to sell myself. I want everyone else to sell me to you. That would be my business philosophy, right? Because anyone can be their own spokesperson, but I will personally, and I think this goes as a general sales tactic, if something is recommended by a previous customer or a current customer, that gives a 10 times better message than recommended by the vendor, right? If I tell you the Red Path is the best channel in the world and you should be following, the fuck, I'm looking to make a dime, right? But if you're, you know, guy or girl at your local gaming store says, hey, have you seen the Red Path? It's pretty cool. Like, guy's a complete dickhead, but, you know, there's some fun stuff on there. You know, okay, I'll check it out, right? It means more. It's more personal, right? When, you know what I mean? So talk to current and previous customers or clients, right? Get a feel for what is offered, what their progress was. Did they see a marked improvement beyond what they should have expected by just playing 10, 20, 30 extra games, right? If you're just walking away, if you spend a couple $100, more than that probably, and you play 10, 20, 30 games under that, and you've played all those games against Drukhari, and you're now really familiar with Drukhari, it doesn't really matter when you go in and you play Admech, or you know what I mean? Look for potential issues that would mean you could be wasting your money. Before you get coached as well, do what you can off your own back. Do what you can playing the game wise, reading, you know, theory hammering, reading the rule books, talking to your friends, playing games, playing TTS games, the things that are essentially free or very low, you know, a low cost overhead there. Do those things first. I would advise, it's not a requirement, but I would advise to squeeze yourself dry from everything you can do on your own first. You may be missing out if you're not playing TTS right now. For instance, if you're just getting 2 or 3 games a month in, you know, one every couple of weeks or something, but you know you're sat at home by yourself every evening just watching Netflix or something, spend $20 on Tabletop Simulator and get 2 or 3 more games in a week. You will see an improvement then, and you may have it in you to not need a coach at all. You may just lack the hours on the table, right? And you can get them very easily on TTS. It's not perfect. I much prefer the real life thing, and I can't wait till I don't need TTS. But for some people, it may be super easy and a great resource to use. As an example, I'm not saying it's the solution to everything, but if you're not using it, you should be doing that way before you consider coaching, in my opinion. So I don't know if I'm a bit of a history nerd, right? And especially military history. And the thing with anything, like a subculture, right? Like nerd culture or something. There was a thing during early warfare. It still exists to an extent today. Well, not really today, but in modern history. But certainly in ancient warfare up to sort of like the turn of the 20th century, right? About 1900, thereabouts. Pre-World War One, let's say. the idea of a baggage train, the logistics train, right? It's this idea that, you have your army of, say, 10,000 soldiers. If you've got 10,000 soldiers, you've probably got about 80,000 people in the logistics train. The people that, are bringing the food, they're bringing the families of the soldiers. And, for every horse that's being used by the cavalry, they have to have like 4 oxen pulling the grain cart or whatever, right? And then you need an additional half a grain cart to feed those oxen. And it's like logistics is unto itself a science. And that what happens then, and this is why I'm bringing this up, you have an army which becomes like a population, right? You have a business enterprise that is built off that. You would get your brothels and stuff, right? You would get your cheap grog bars set up, and different services, people that would replace weapons for you or repair weapons for you on the side because you couldn't get it from the quartermaster or whatever, what have you, right? Anything that happens has a satellite organization of business that feeds off it. Let's look at it more modern. Like if you're out here in the US, maybe in a more rural area, you'll know if there's like a defunct strip mall, right, with no businesses in it. If suddenly they open a Walmart across the street, within 6 months there'll be a couple more small businesses. There'll be a McDonald's and a Taco Bell there. There might be like a car wash there. They feed off of the traffic generated, right? So with 40k absolutely booming and has been booming, GW is obviously making their pound of flesh, right? But everyone else can also make, and this is no disrespect, absolutely not, because here I am doing exactly the same thing, not making money off of it per se, but whatever I am getting out of this, because 40k is big, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and kind of like just starting to build up that huge momentum. Other people can ride that success wave, right? Whether it's YouTube channels doing battle reports, coaching services, commission painters. These are all legit ways to make a business, and I absolutely 100% commend anyone who is able to devote their life to 40k, like to their livelihood, to make enough money off of 40k to survive and thrive and be successful. Big respect to you. But it's a natural thing. This organism that grows around 40k or an army or a Walmart, right? It's just something that happens. So at the end of the day, there's going to be options. There's going to be competition. There isn't just one coaching service. There's not just one commission painter out there or battle report channel or whatever, right? There's tons. Shop around. If you decide you've done everything you can and you have the expendable income, you've got the hobby dollars or whatever you want to call it to invest, and it's a genuine goal of yours and it's something you want and you can do it and you can afford it, shop around, ask for testimonies, talk to the coaches themselves, ask them get realistic questions and get answers from them. Find who's going to give you the best service for what you want from them, for what you need to get where you're going, right? That's ultimately the most important thing. So yeah, I'm not here to tell you it's good or bad. I wanted to talk about it because it's something I feel strongly about, because of charlatans, because I've heard some stories of people in 40k. Well, I say some, that makes it sound, I've heard 2 stories of people who maybe weren't particularly satisfied with who they were paying. No, I mean, we're not talking horrible things here. Just like, in my opinion, through talking to them, is maybe you shouldn't. Maybe that's not for you. So yeah, that's just how it is. That's going to be of anything. Like, if you go to a shitty restaurant, you probably don't go there a second time, right? Until you hear something good about it, maybe you give it another try. Because this is a young business, right? Because the 40k baggage train is young. We are still in the mode of expecting good players to be good coaches, and it's not the case. It's not the case. It's not necessarily the case. There are obviously situations where it is, but just because someone won a major event doesn't make them a good teacher. The two don't go hand in hand exclusively. So do not fall for that cookie cutter approach, which is, again, going back to in the fitness industry, most coaches, most trainers will just say, hey, yeah, do this program, it'll work wonders for you. And they won't have looked into your physical fitness, your medical needs, any restrictions you might have, your actual goals and ambitions. You need a personal, tailored program for anything you're going to learn. It's the same if you're going to restart academics later in life, right? You want to get something that is going to work for you around your lifestyle. If you've got kids, or you're working night shift at the same time, you have to find something that works specifically for you, and that goes for this. If you're going to pay money, get the absolute best you can for your dollars, right? So I'm going to wrap it up there. Rambled long enough. Again, if you've enjoyed this, always appreciate the likes, the comments, subscribe button, all that crap. If you didn't, tell me I'm a dumbass. It's good. I don't care. I won't give you a heart react, but I'll probably reply. I reply to about 90% of comments just because I can't get to everything. I'm not going to shill because it just feels dirty. But I've just said I'm not going to shill, which is kind of implicitly shilling, isn't it? No. So, all right, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Appreciate you. Stay healthy. Stay safe. Kill main button.